My mother-in-law refuses to give my son's inheritance and tried to get us to sign papers transferring it to her name. The bank told her she needed his signature to access any of it. My husband said, "You're not disabled, you're just pregnant," when I asked to stop working 3 weeks before my due date. I was 8 months pregnant and my feet looked like 2 balloons attached to my ankles. My back hurt so bad that I couldn't sleep more than 2 hours at a time. I worked as a receptionist at a veterinary clinic and spent 9 hours a day on my feet, greeting pet owners and carrying files back and forth. When I told my husband Rodney that I wanted to start my maternity leave early, he looked at me like I'd asked him to buy me a private island. "You're not disabled, you're just pregnant." He said it while sitting on the couch playing video games with his headset on. I reminded him that my doctor had recommended I reduce my activity because my blood pressure was getting high. Rodney paused his game long enough to tell me that his mother worked in a factory until the day she gave birth and that I was being soft. His mother also had 3 miscarriages, but he never mentioned that part. I told him we had enough savings for me to take a few weeks off before the baby came. He said that money was for the baby, not for me to sit around eating snacks and watching TV. I asked him what exactly he thought maternity leave was for. He said it was for after the baby arrived, not before, when I was perfectly capable of answering phones. The next morning, my supervisor Fred asked if everything was okay at home because I'd been crying in the break room again. I told him I was just hormonal. He didn't believe me, but he didn't push. Rodney texted me 4 times that day asking what I was making for dinner. I was on my feet for 8 hours with a human pressing on my bladder, and he wanted to know what I was cooking for him when I got home. I made spaghetti because it was easy, and he complained that we'd had pasta 3 times that week. I reminded him that he could cook if he didn't like what I made. He laughed and said he worked too hard to come home and stand over a stove. Rodney worked at a car dealership selling used vehicles. He sat in an air-conditioned office all day drinking coffee and waiting for customers to walk in. But somehow his job was harder than mine, even though I was growing a whole person inside my body while also working full-time. On Friday, my ankles were so swollen that I couldn't fit into any of my shoes. I wore flip-flops to work even though it was against dress code because nothing else would go on my feet. Fred sent me home early and told me to talk to my doctor. The doctor said my blood pressure was too high and that I needed to rest. She wrote me a note recommending immediate maternity leave. I showed Rodney the note when I got home. He read it twice and then asked if I could get a second opinion. I asked him why he wanted me to keep working so badly when we had enough money saved. He got quiet for a second too long and then said he just didn't want me to get bored at home. That answer didn't make sense. Rodney never cared if I was bored. He left me alone every Saturday to go fishing with his brother and never once worried about me being bored then. Something was wrong. The next day was Saturday, and Rodney left early for his fishing trip like always. I decided to check our savings account online just to make sure everything was fine. The account that was supposed to have $11,000 in it had exactly $412. I checked 3 times because I thought the website was broken. It wasn't broken. The money was gone. I looked at the transaction history and saw dozens of withdrawals over the past 2 months. All of them were cash withdrawals from ATMs near the casino 20 miles outside of town. My husband had gambled away our baby fund.